Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as reported by Inner City Press. What started as a routine logistics memo became the crack in the dam. A single email, buried 12 replies deep, triggered a chain reaction no one was ready for. It didn't surface through leaks or raids. It was forwarded by mistake. By the time the courtroom saw it, it was already too late. Taylor Swift's tour, once the biggest musical spectacle in the world, was now linked to something far more sinister. Scouting lists, vanishing fans, unexplained backstage entries. Behind the glittering concerts and viral TikToks was a system no one saw coming, one that prosecutors now claim used the Eras Tour not as a stage, but as a trap. The gallery leaned in, the judge leaned forward, and a name that was never supposed to appear in this case was suddenly glowing on the courtroom screen. The courtroom wasn't prepared for it. No one was. It wasn't a confession, it wasn't an audio recording, and it wasn't even classified.
Okay, for now, focus here for a minute. Don't worry, their drama will keep going on. Think a little about yourself too. An Indonesian scientist has uncovered a shocking truth about belly fat, and it has nothing to do with diet or exercise. 95% of people who tried this strange bedtime ritual lost 25 pounds or more. Some even dropped over 50, all while sleeping. No gym, no starving, just one simple step before bed. It sounds crazy, but it's backed by science. Tap the link in the description and see for yourself.
It was something far more dangerous. An email chain. A seemingly benign logistics memo forwarded during Taylor Swift's Eras Tour titled VIP Review, Nashville plus Tampa. At first glance, it looked routine. Venue confirmations, access lists, digital passes. But then, 12 emails deep, a single red highlighted line changed everything. Send the scout names directly to LA Mark, Combs. A silence swept over the room. Prosecutors paused mid-sentence. The judge leaned forward. The defense objected, but it didn't matter. The document was already Exhibit 42A. Not because of what it said, but because of who it mentioned. There, embedded in the logistics of the world's most successful pop tour, was a direct link to Sean Diddy Combs. It didn't accuse, it didn't explain, but it connected. The Eras Tour wasn't supposed to be part of this case. Taylor Swift's name was never expected to be mentioned, much less appear in federal court proceedings involving human trafficking, surveillance, and manipulation. But now, it was. And worse, it wasn't just a name. It was a system, a funnel, a stage for something darker. The court quickly sealed several pages, but reporters had already seen enough. The memo came from an inactive Swift LLC account, one accidentally reactivated by a newly hired social coordinator who BCC'd an old address. That dormant address was tied to a corporate archive, and when that archive was subpoenaed as part of a separate investigation into Diddy's business sponsors, the memo resurfaced. The Eras Tour's fan experience database became federal property. And this is when the prosecutors discovered the first sign of the Crimson 10, a list of names flagged under the Scout Sync folder in the leaked drive. The prosecutor's voice barely cracked when he said it out loud. These weren't fans. These were targets. The courtroom fell silent because for the first time, the case wasn't about what Diddy did. It was about who helped him do it without even knowing they were part of the machine. It started with something as simple as a photo, a girl posing outside the Eras Tour Stadium in Dallas. Glitter makeup, a sequined dress, a wide smile, and a red wristband. Nothing unusual until the prosecution displayed 5 more photos from 5 different cities. 6 girls, 6 cities, 6 identical wristbands, not sold by Ticketmaster, not listed in any VIP package, and never acknowledged by Swift's team. The courtroom projected the images side by side. Red, not bright, not flashy. Matty, understated. But each wristband contained something sinister, a passive RFID chip. According to the FBI's tech analyst, it was used for discrete asset tracking. These aren't fan items, she said. They're soft tags used for passive surveillance in crowded environments. Once activated, they communicate location data within a limited radius. In other words, the girls were being tracked. One of the mothers took the stand. Her daughter had won a Swift Surprise Instagram lottery, a promotion allegedly linked to a special acoustic set before the show. They received a plain envelope in the mail. No branding, no instructions, just a red wristband and a venue address. Her daughter went. She never came back. Security footage later showed the girl entering through a side gate, one not connected to the fan check-in lanes. She was logged in as crew open parenthesis, intern close parenthesis, but Swift's team had no record of her. That entrance was marked for production overflow, and from there, the trail goes cold. Other girls tied to similar wristbands were tracked to separate events under Diddy's branding. One appeared as crew at a 2022 fashion launch. Unpaid, underage, and listed via a modeling agency that has since dissolved. The agency, prosecutors revealed, shared banking links with a Combs-connected event firm called Pulse Guest Relations. At this point, it stopped being about coincidence. The red wristbands weren't just merchandise, they were selection tools, and one internal text leaked to the prosecution made that painfully clear. Crimson 10 is locked, no resyncs, only push model. Night 2 group text only. The gallery froze. The girls were being tagged, routed, and silenced, and the Eras Tour wasn't the target, it was the delivery system. It wasn't found in an office. It wasn't pulled from a hard drive or seized in a corporate raid. It was discovered in a scuffed red Pelican case stored in a storage unit under a fake name. Inside the case, a solid-state drive labeled Miami Night 6 Combs. Prosecutors introduced the drive as Exhibit 42B. The courtroom lights dimmed as its contents were reviewed. Among the hundreds of files was one folder that stood out, Scout Sync. Inside it, video logs, internal emails, and field reports with a sickening pattern. Clip 3A was played aloud. Court transcript read, "Yo, this is confirmation. Swift VIP pulls are clean. Forwarded to Shell East. List contains initials TS. Flag. Don't touch her. She's heat right now." The room went still. Taylor Swift wasn't being accused of participation. She was being discussed like a shield, a protected asset. Something or someone had warned them off. The phrasing, "she's heat right now," triggered an emergency review because it meant she'd already been approached and someone with power had shut it down. But that warning didn't apply to the fans, especially not the ones with red wristbands. The drive detailed weekend operations known internally as Celebrity Convergence, lavish events hosted at luxury mansions, often timed with music festivals, tour stops, or award weekends. May 2023, Miami. Swift's Eras Tour had just passed through, and according to the drive's logs, scouts had been deployed near her venue. Witness number 12, a former private security agent for Diddy, took the stand. His role? Logistics and perimeter control. But in his words, the operation was something else entirely. It was movement, not protection. These girls weren't being guarded. They were being rerouted. When asked how Taylor's tour factored in, he shook his head. She didn't know, but they used her. It's a machine. Stadium shows, high turnover, thousands of people, the perfect cover. One final detail locked it all together. A building schematic displayed in court. A mansion in Star Island labeled Combs Production Retreat. A guest record from the night of Swift's show listed a visitor with a name resembling someone from her management team. She never entered, but her assistant did. The witness looked straight ahead and said, "I think they were hoping she'd be the new cover." She had the audience. She had the shield. By now, the courtroom wasn't just looking at Diddy. They were looking at a system hidden in the spotlight. By day 4 of the trial, the gallery had adjusted to the chaos. Leaked documents, digital forensics, missing girls, and red wristbands. It was becoming a blur. But everything changed when the prosecution called a mother to the stand. Her voice shook, not because she feared the courtroom, but because this was the first time anyone had ever listened. Her daughter, age 20, had entered what she believed was a VIP fan experience lottery. It came from a blue-check Instagram account called Swift Surprise Events, which had been reposted by a verified music blogger. The message was simple: limited edition acoustic show, invitation only. All you had to do was enter your details, tag a friend, and wait, and she did. A week later, a red wristband arrived in the mail. No branding, nothing, no welcome card, just the band, and a time slot printed on a plain label. The girl was thrilled. She thought it was a secret Taylor Swift event, maybe even a meet and greet. The time slot, 2 hours before the concert. The location, a separate gate near the Dallas Stadium, marked as private load-in. Her mother drove her there. She never saw her daughter again. The courtroom watched in silence as the prosecutor projected the last known image, security footage of the girl waving at a loading truck before disappearing around the side entrance. A timestamp placed her at the private access gate, but no footage ever captured her leaving. She was never seen at the actual concert. Her phone pinged once after entry, then nothing. The defense objected, claiming this could be coincidence. But then the prosecution dropped the real bomb. A second image of another girl wearing the same red wristband, but this time registered as crew at a 2022 fashion event run by Combs Global. She was 19, unpaid, and her work history was routed through a now-defunct modeling agency that shared bank accounts with Pulse Guest Relations. It wasn't random. It was a pattern. FBI investigators confirmed that Pulse, an events company with no physical office, had been contracting fan engagement services under Swift's tour umbrella through third-party social media accounts. These were ghost accounts, profiles that mimic fan-run giveaway pages but were designed to collect data, route VIP targets, and deliver credentials for non-existent events. When the prosecution introduced internal text messages from one of these pages, the courtroom gasped again. The text read, "Push Crimson 10 only to final shortlist. Do not sync to merch list. Routes directly to Pulse. Confirm VIPs received night 2 invite. Group text only. No individual comms. Diddy wants models. Age ceiling Chapman, 25." This wasn't about fandom. This was trafficking by design, hidden beneath glitter and music. Day 5 opened with a single name that shocked even the seasoned court reporters: Ariana Grande. Up until now, the trial had centered on the Eras Tour, red wristbands, and a covert network allegedly operating behind Taylor Swift's massive arena shows. Ariana wasn't even on the tour. She wasn't involved with Taylor. She was performing on a different coast. So why was her name on a courtroom exhibit labeled 42FA? The prosecution called their next witness, a digital systems analyst from a cyber forensic firm brought in to decode a collapsed marketing firm tied to Combs Global. He pulled up a document titled "A G Guest Clause, Carryover from Crimson." The courtroom leaned in. "What does this clause reference?" the prosecutor asked. The analyst flipped through the PDF. "It's a back-end retention marker. It allows the transfer of active tracker data from one event ecosystem to another without the primary artist's knowledge." The judge blinked. "Are you saying Ariana Grande's event received active surveillance data from Taylor Swift's tour?" The analyst nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. The trackers, the RFID tags embedded in the red wristband, were migrated across systems." What followed was a chilling breakdown. The Crimson 10 girls, the red wristband targets, had been tagged and monitored across multiple events. A new photo surfaced showing 2 girls previously linked to Swift's fan system entering Ariana Grande's fragrance event in Miami via a service elevator. They never attended the public event. They were on a separate sealed guest list, a list kept by Diddy's private security. A quiet man took the stand next. He was a former concierge at the Ye Hotel, where the event was held. When shown the surveillance stills of the 2 girls, he whispered, "I remember them. They weren't there for the party." When asked what he meant, he elaborated, "They looked scared, like they had a job to do but didn't know what it was." When asked if Ariana herself was present, he confirmed she was upstairs performing. She had no idea anyone else was even in that hallway. The prosecution ended the segment with a diagram titled "Celebrity Pass-Through Model, Tier 1 Talent as Visibility Shields." The theory? That massive, uncontroversial artists were being used as cover for darker operations happening just out of frame. Not with their consent, not with their awareness, but with their infrastructure. And in that moment, the courtroom no longer saw stars. They saw pawns in someone else's machine. It had been a long week. Testimony after testimony, Leaks, email trails, missing girls. The courtroom was emotionally battered, but nothing could have prepared them for what came next. He walked in slowly, wearing plain clothes and a badge marked Protected Witness. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, but he had been there. A backup dancer for Taylor Swift, specifically hired for the Southeast leg of the Eras Tour, the same leg now riddled with missing entries, red wristbands, and unaccounted credentials. When he took the stand, the judge asked if he was ready. He nodded, softly, and said 5 words that changed the atmosphere instantly. "I saw the wrong tape." He described the moment in detail. After a rehearsal set in Atlanta, he walked backstage to grab a water bottle. The green room was locked. Unusual, but not unheard of. 30 seconds later, a woman in a red dress exited the room, shaken, silent, without a pass. He asked her, "You good?" She didn't respond. When he walked in, what he saw wasn't prep. It wasn't crew. It wasn't tour-related at all. A black curtain hung from a tripod rig. A faux interview setup was staged with a blinking red light on a recording camera. A woman sat, silently crying, flanked by 2 men in suits. A table nearby had red folders, a sparkling water can, and a set of headphones. The dancer was frozen. Then one of the men stood up and said, "Wrong green room. This one's private." He backed out, apologized. He tried to forget. But weeks later, while scrolling online, he stumbled across leaked courtroom footage, a distorted video from a seized drive. In the background, he heard his own voice. "You good?" His voice. That moment, it had been recorded without his knowledge. He realized then it wasn't just about tracking girls. They were recording everyone: celebrity, dancers, assistant, unwitting bystanders. The prosecution revealed that this setup, same curtain, same folders, same tripod, had been documented in hotel rooms in Denver, Miami, and Las Vegas, always near Swift events, always featuring red wristband girls, and always under fake production aliases. The metadata from the footage: tape ID TSRRW1, Taylor Swift Red Room Witness 1. And when asked if he'd ever seen the red-dressed girl again, he shook his head. Her trailer caught fire 2 weeks later. They replaced her. Didn't even tell us her name. The courtroom had already witnessed emails, burner phones, and digital surveillance logs, but nothing prepared them for the evidence that came next. Something physical, analog, and deeply human. A necklace. The item was displayed in a protective glass case. A silver pendant, styled like a retro cassette tape, strung on a thin chain. Not sold as merch, not handmade on Etsy. This cassette was real, and it worked. Inside, it was a voice recording, 16 seconds long. The voice belonged to a young woman, breathless, panicked, whispering beneath static. He said, "I got lucky, that I'm prettier in person." Pause. There's someone behind the mirror. I saw them move. Then silence. A single click. The tape ended. The girl wearing the necklace had been on the Crimson 10 list. She checked into a Nashville boutique hotel on May 6, 2023, the night of Taylor Swift's concert in the city. She never made it to the show. The hotel room was left in perfect condition, except for one detail: the necklace left on the windowsill. What came next stunned even seasoned investigators. The pendant wasn't just a voice recorder. The embedded cassette included a timecode system used in now-defunct biometric locks, originally registered to a private residence owned by Sean Combs. The necklace was, unknowingly or not, a key. The hotel surveillance footage from that night was partially lost. 90 minutes of footage missing from the 3rd floor. 2 maids reported a strange smell the following morning from room 312, but no police report was filed. It was written off as pipe leakage until the case reopened. The last person to see her alive was a doorman. She had stepped outside briefly and said something odd. "Tell my mom I saw her favorite song live," but she hadn't. She never entered the venue. Later that evening, a housekeeper discovered a red velvet envelope under the bed. Inside, a Taylor Swift concert ticket, an unused wristband, and a torn scrap of paper, written in shaky ink. "I won something I didn't sign up for." The prosecution connected this case to a marketing campaign tracked to Era Surprise Selection, a shell initiative advertised only through private DMs and email invites. FBI subpoenas revealed that the campaign was funded by a now-dissolved company called Combs Experience experience group. They weren't running contests, they were running capture routes. The necklace wasn't a keepsake, it was a tool. And the girl wearing it, she may have uncovered more than she was supposed to. Or worse, she was bait for someone else. Most courtroom bombshells came in the form of footage, statements, or evidence pulled from devices. But Part 8 of the prosecution's case came from somewhere much quieter, a Swift fan page. It was called Swift Coded, just 15,000 followers, a lyric analysis page, innocent, harmless, the kind of account fans loved for Easter eggs, hidden references, and wild theories. But prosecutors weren't interested in its content, they were interested in its timing. A month before the Nashville show, the page posted a blurry red envelope with the caption, "She's not ready for what's coming. Red isn't just a color anymore." 3 days before the first leaked TikTok showed a girl wearing a red wristband, Swift Coded posted, "Not every VIP is meant to return. Some are just meant to be seen." And a week before the cassette necklace was discovered, Swift Coded shared an image of a tape emoji with the caption, "You won, but you don't know what yet." At first, prosecutors thought this was coincidence, but the IP logs told a different story. The page wasn't run by a fan. It was operated from an internal server once registered to Pulse Events, the same Pulse that ghosted legal inquiries, the same Pulse that routed VIP names, and the same Pulse that no longer existed. Swift Coded wasn't a theory page, it was a breadcrumb trail, a coded system disguised as fandom, a private bulletin board hiding in plain sight. The final post was dated June 1st, 2023. "When the music stops, don't clap, run." The account went private hours later, then dark, then scrubbed. FBI agents called it the most disturbing coincidence in the case, not just because of its eerie accuracy, but because it showed intentionality. Someone knew what was coming. Someone warned the targets, but only through symbol, never directly. The prosecution's final piece of evidence in this segment was a burned piece of cardstock recovered from a trash fire outside a private estate in Brentwood, California. It was an invitation, charred edges, half destroyed, but legible. C10 Final, Nashville Drop. On the back, a Swift lyric handwritten in black ink, "I knew you'd haunt all of my what-ifs." It wasn't sent to Taylor. It wasn't found in her tour documents. It was mailed to Swift Coded directly. The court didn't need a jury to gasp. The silence was enough. By the final day of court, no one expected to be surprised anymore. But prosecutors saved the most haunting exhibit for last, one that required no sound, no documents, no witness, just a video. The courtroom lights dimmed. The projection played footage from the Nashville Eras tour, a fan-shot clip of fireworks, cheers, phones in the air, singing, pure euphoria. But in the top right corner of the screen, almost unnoticed, a single figure moved against the crowd, a girl in a red dress. Not dancing, not clapping, just walking, slowly, silently, toward the venue exit. Her wristband caught the light, matte red, glowing faintly. A freeze frame followed. The prosecution zoomed in. The face matched a name from the Crimson 10 list, one that had never posted again after August 2023. One marked as attended in backstage records, but never logged out. The final clip wasn't graphic. It wasn't violent. It was worse. It was quiet. It was real. She thought she had won something. And maybe, in a way, she had. She won the right to disappear quietly. The court went still. The judge leaned back. No objections were raised. There were no further questions, because there was nothing left to say. Behind the scenes of a billion-dollar tour, behind the screams, the lights, the glitter, there was something else. And if Taylor Swift's tour was the shield, who else was the sword?